Well,
Star Wars Episode 1 The Phantom Menace is 25 years old. This film is one of the most important films in the whole saga, and we'll get to why it's so special throughout the video. But before that though, be sure to like and subscribe so you can get more Star Wars content. Alright, now let's begin with the hype season that started before anyone even saw the film.
It's going to be fantastic. I mean, it's going to be a great movie. It's going to be a lot of fun, but it's also, I think, going to be so worthwhile.
If you followed the channel, you know how much we love the merch, the marketing, and all the craziness that surrounded Episode 1. If you want a full dive into that craziness, check out our full video covering that. It'll be linked below. To this day, The Phantom Menace is the most marketed movie of all time. It was the return of one of the biggest pop culture phenomenons the world had seen, 16 years in the making. In November of 1998, people went out of their way to theaters for a random movie nobody had ever heard of, just to see an exclusive trailer for The Phantom Menace. Then, once they had seen the trailer, they walked out without even watching the movie they bought a ticket for. That's crazy to think of now, but you have to remember, it wasn't anything like today when you could just easily go online to YouTube and watch a trailer 20 times in a row. People flocked to movies like Meet Joe Black and Waterboy just to get a taste of Star Wars. People were hungry for a galaxy far, far away. I'd like to think the massive wave of franchise films that we've gone through the last 20 plus years all started with The Phantom Menace. Of course, you had many blockbusters taking off in the early 2000s, but Star Wars and George Lucas were always ahead of their time. The Phantom Menace opened the door, a huge door, to a whole new group of Star Wars fans, ushering in a new era of Star Wars, the prequel era. The prequels get a lot of love these days, but it wasn't always that way. There was a lot of mixed opinions, and there was a lot of hate for the prequels, primarily The Phantom Menace. But with the kids that grew up with these films now coming of age and voicing their opinions, things have shifted. And it's great to see, because I love The Phantom Menace. Like any other Star Wars movie, a major thing behind this film was the legendary work from ILM, Industrial Light and Magic, especially with their CG. In a behind-the-scenes documentary, George Lucas said,
"The real point is how can we manage to change the operating procedures in a way that we can completely revolutionize the way we make movies so that this is all doable. If this picture works, then everybody else will want it done for their picture. And what are we going to do?"
The CG in The Phantom Menace was mind-blowing at the time, especially the podrace, and still holds up well to this day. While the CG in the other prequel films, though, not as much if I'm being honest, but still, Lucas, as usual, was a pioneer for many things in film, and this was just another one of those things. Now, back to the part about the prequel era beginning here. Let's take that a step even further. The saga begins here. We are introduced to young Anakin Skywalker, Darth Vader as an innocent young boy who wants to have fun and pod race. Seeing young little Annie in this film was just heartbreaking, knowing where and how he eventually ends up. I think The Phantom Menace as a film perfectly captures what the prequel trilogy is all about. Fun action sequences like the pod race, an epic lightsaber duel, some really goofy moments, and of course, galactic politics. Oh, and Padme Amidala, an iconic Star Wars character, began her awesome journey in The Phantom Menace with a twist revelation. She's the Queen!
I am Queen Amidala.
I definitely think Qui-Gon knew all along. Just look at this facial expression. He knew. She shows the galaxy who's boss using her words and using a blaster. Now, of course this is up for debate, but I'd say the best lightsaber duel in the entire saga takes place in this film. That's right, Duel of Fates. It may even be the highlight of the film. I'm more of a pod race guy, but Duel of the Fates is awesome. It's an iconic duel, from the epic music of John Williams, to Maul's double-bladed lightsaber action, to this amazing sequence with just Obi-Wan and Maul. I mentioned my favorite moment in the film was the pod race, and it's such a unique moment in the saga. An epic action sequence that isn't a form of war or battle, but still just as violent at times. The pod race captures the vibe of The Phantom Menace. Exciting, goofy, beautiful, and action-packed. And those sound effects? Come on. Outside of the action of it all though, the world building that this does with the crowds, the culture of Mos Espa surrounding the race, very cool to see, especially back in '99. The cast for The Phantom Menace was full of stars like Natalie Portman and Ewan McGregor, but you also had big-timer Liam Neeson starring as Qui-Gon Jinn, one of my favorite Jedi ever and honestly one of the best acting jobs in all of Star Wars. Qui-Gon really only appears in this film, of course. Well, we do see him in other things later. But his character was so impactful. The way he spoke, the way he thought, the way he would tell the Jedi Council how it was, his meditation during the Duel of Fates. He's a damn near perfect character and the perfect teacher for Obi-Wan Kenobi. In the previous Star Wars films, we saw a rebellion taking down a fascist empire, a very different political climate than what we see in The Phantom Menace. Although, things are still far from perfect. In this film, we actually get to see Senate talks taking place. We even get to see things as minute as trade routes being discussed. Sort of. And sneaking his way behind the scenes to slowly create that before-mentioned empire is Senator Palpatine, soon to be Chancellor Palpatine. To see the Emperor as an actual human being and not this deformed monster in a hooded robe is also wild compared to where we see him in the OT. And this Sith Lord introduces us to his new apprentice,
Darth Maul.
who is just one of the coolest villain designs you've ever seen. He may get cut in half after the epic duel, but his story was long from over. Who would have thought we'd get that much Maul after the Phantom Menace? You gotta love it. The legend himself, Doug Chiang, kicked off his Star Wars career with Episode 1, and his concept art is gorgeous, as it always is. He truly came up with some of the best designs that we've seen in a galaxy far, far away. The N1 starfighter, the Trade Federation ships, Maul's ship, the pod race, the list goes on. I could not end this video without talking about Doug Chiang. So Doug, you're the best. The Phantom Menace is a beautiful, goofy epic that is enjoyable for all ages. It's one of the most important chapters in the saga, and it's one that I point most people to start with. Of course it is Episode 1, but the whole release order thing, start with Episode 1, especially if you're getting kids into Star Wars. Lucas changed the game with CG work, John Williams stepped his game up even further, and it all came together to form the now classic Star Wars film. Thanks for watching, guys. Be sure to like and subscribe. Do yourself a favor and go pop on the Phantom Menace, and I will see you on the holonet.